Did you know that the United States cannot directly control the exchange rate of its own currency? At first glance, that sounds surprising. After all, the US dollar is the world's primary reserve currency. But in reality, the Federal Reserve cannot simply step into the foreign exchange market and manipulate the dollar whenever it wants. Instead, the United States relies on indirect mechanisms. One of them is the Federal Open Market Committee, which can authorize the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to conduct foreign exchange operations through the System Open Market account. Another channel is the US Treasury, which can instruct the New York Fed to intervene using the Exchange Stabilization Fund. However, these tools are far less powerful than the direct intervention methods available to many other central banks. Why? Because if China's central bank wants to weaken its currency against the dollar, it can simply create more of its own currency and use it to buy dollars. In principle, it can issue virtually unlimited amounts of its own currency, while the United States has little ability to prevent it from doing so directly. This is one reason why the United States has intervened directly in the foreign exchange market only a few times in modern history. As a result, Washington often relies on political rather than monetary pressure. One of its main tools is labeling countries as currency manipulators. This is not merely political rhetoric. The term has a legal basis in the Omnibus Trade and Competitiveness Act of 1988, which established a formal process for identifying and responding to countries that may be manipulating their exchange rates. Here's how it works. Since 2015, the US Treasury has been required to submit a report to Congress every 6 months, evaluating the currency policies of America's major trading partners. The report includes a list of countries that may be engaging in currency manipulation. A country is evaluated using 3 criteria. It has a bilateral trade surplus with the United States of more than $20 billion. It has a current account surplus exceeding 2% of GDP. Its central bank conducts persistent net foreign exchange purchases exceeding 2% of GDP. If a country meets 1 or 2 of these criteria, it is placed on the Treasury's monitoring list. If it satisfies all 3, the United States may formally designate it as a currency manipulator. Once that designation is made, the U.S. can begin official negotiations aimed at persuading the country to allow its currency to appreciate against the dollar. A famous historical example is Japan. In 1985, the United States and several of its allies signed the Plaza Accord, under which Japan agreed to allow the yen to strengthen. As a result, between 1985 and 1990, the exchange rate moved from roughly 250 yen per US dollar to around 150 yen per dollar. But why does the United States oppose countries that deliberately weaken their currencies? Because currency devaluation functions as a form of trade protectionism. When a country's currency becomes cheaper, its exports also become cheaper for foreign buyers. Lower prices make those goods more competitive, boosting export sales. At the same time, imported goods become more attractive to American consumers because they cost less in dollar terms. This puts pressure on U.S. manufacturers who may lose market share, cut production, or even relocate factories abroad to reduce costs. The result can be fewer domestic jobs and weaker economic growth. Meanwhile, a weaker domestic currency also makes American exports more expensive in the manipulating country, reducing demand for U.S. products. In effect, the exchange rate acts like an invisible tariff. Instead of imposing import duties directly, a country can gain a similar competitive advantage simply by keeping its currency undervalued. In a perfectly functioning free market, persistent trade surpluses should eventually cause a country's currency to appreciate, while trade deficits should lead to depreciation. Over time, these exchange rate adjustments help rebalance international trade. But of course, we don't live in a perfect world.